Hey guys, I'm joined by another exciting guest. I have Kaela McDonald-Nguah from Gartcain on loan from Motherwell. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. So, first question I've got is, when did you get into football and who got you into football?
So started to get into football when I was about 4. I think it was probably I watched a lot of football like with my mum growing up, and I used to be a dancer actually. But apparently my mum always says that I just turned around to her one day, maybe watching the football, and said that's what I want to do, and she took me along to a training session, and then that's been me ever since.
Who was a role model you looked up to as a kid?
Probably like a few. So I think at the start, like in terms of football, it was maybe like Henrik Larsson because I was a big Celtic fan growing up. But then a little bit older, like Steven Gerrard because I was a similar position to him growing up. And then once I started to see more women's football, like Rachel Yankee and Ifeoma Dieki as well. They were kind of like the people I started to look up to.
What's your favourite football memory?
Oh, favorite football memory. Gosh, so many. Would probably be maybe one of the times that I got to represent Scotland at youth level. Um, Always really enjoyed going away, and also the whole part of it. I think going to different countries and experiencing different cultures with like your best friends. Like I don't think you can really beat that.
What is your first football memory?
First football memory. Um, First, it would probably be the training sessions that I first started to go to. I always remember it's sort of a really strange random memory, but it's just the first thing I can think of. As I remember we were doing a training session and one of the coaches kicked the ball up in the air. And we at the time you're really small, so it's like it goes really really high, and then he traps the ball, and we were like amazed. And I think I remember trying it, and I was the only one out of like 30 kids. I was the only girl as well that could do it. And I remember thinking I was really cool, but a bit embarrassing to look back on. But that's like one of my first football memories.
Have you got any pre-match superstitions?
Do you know, I used to. I used to have a lot. But it got to the point that if I didn't hit or didn't do one of these superstitions, it actually just threw me off, and I was stressed more about that than the game. So, now I try and just be as relaxed as possible. And I don't really tend to have a superstition. Only thing is would maybe be if we're doing the shooting drill in the warm up that I need to score at least like 1 or 2. We'd hopefully a little bit more considering I'm a striker, but that would be the only one. I need to score at least 1 or 2 before I could go back in and get changed.
What's the favourite pair of boots you've ever had?
Oh, favorite pair of boots. Probably this is going back a few years now. So I think they were T90s, Nike T90s, and I remember I had a pair of them. It was like Wayne Rooney used to wear them at the time, and but they were like quite a mix of colours. But like the main colour was just like a luminous green, which is scary to think back on because now all I wear really is black boots. But those were probably my favourite boots, I think.
What's your favourite goal celebration, either for like another player that you watch or your own celebration?
Favorite one. Do you know what? I really like when players knee slide. I love knee sliding. Um, but I've had a few injuries into my knees, so it's something I never do. But I wish I could do. And especially like in the Scottish League here, most pitches we play on are AstroTurf, so it wouldn't make a lot of sense to be sliding about. You're going to get astro burns. But in terms of my own celebration, it just kind of depends. I'll just do like a little like fist pump and go, yes, kind of sort of thing. Quite child's, quite mild.
What's the first game you went to?
First game I went to. Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I'd maybe need to double check with my mum, but I'm assuming it would have probably have been a Celtic game of some sort. But I couldn't tell you exactly what game it was, to be fair. But it was definitely been a Celtic game.
Who's your favourite player to currently watch?
Currently watch probably, oh, so many. watch. Maybe in terms of a male player, right now would probably be De Bruyne. I know he's just come back from injury, but I think he's just so good to watch. Like he's unbelievable technically. But he also scores goals too. So I think he's just such a great player to watch. But maybe in terms of a female player, right now I really like watching Lauren Hemp at Man City. Anytime I watch a Man City women's game, like she just always stands out. But she's one of these players that's like really exciting, really fast winger. So kind of keeps you like on the edge of your seat. So she'd probably be the female player.
How do you describe yourself as a player and then your style of play?
As a player, I'd probably say kind of strong, technical. I like to play maybe more with like my back towards the goal, so I like to link up play a lot. And also kind of thread balls through for maybe third man runs or wingers. So yeah, I wouldn't go as fast. I wouldn't say I'm slow, but I wouldn't say I'm fast. So I wouldn't say fast. But I think maybe I maybe read the game quicker with my mind. So maybe kind of tactically as well. But yeah, probably on the whole more of like a link up play. But also hopefully with an eye for goal as well.
Any advice to young footballers wanting to make football into a career?
Um, I think the most important thing is if you enjoy it, and try not to put any pressure on yourself. I think now with it being maybe more of a possibility for young girls, for it to become a career, people might get maybe more stressed if that doesn't come about. But the most important thing about playing football is to enjoy it. And especially if it becomes your job, then you want to enjoy it. But yeah, try not to put any pressure on yourself, but also don't put pressure on yourself in terms of timelines as well, because football is not the longest career, but however, like when a lot of girls start, they're maybe 15, 16 when they're playing first team football, and you can play till, well, whenever really, but kind of maybe 30s, mid 30s, and I've seen plenty of girls now that are women that have just become professional for the first time at like age 30. So just not to give up, not to put too much pressure on yourself, but also, like I said, just enjoy it.
What's the best advice you've been given?
Best advice I've been given. Oh, I think probably to enjoy myself and not put pressure on myself. Because sometimes I feel like players don't realise how much pressure they put on themselves and how much that can actually throw you off. But pressure is also a good thing because it means you're nervous, it means you care. But you need to kind of channel it in a way that it's going to benefit you and it's going to help you, help you run that extra yard or make that extra pass. But yeah, I think the best thing, the advice I had was just to relax, take the pressure off yourself, and don't think that. You have to remember it's a team game, so it's not all that pressure shouldn't just be on you yourself.
Obviously, you touched on that you done dance when you were younger. Did you do any other sports growing up?
Yeah, so I did dance and I did taekwondo as well. So I was into my martial arts, which I also really, really enjoyed. But I had to kind of stop that because there was days it crossed over with football training. And when I was given the choice, it was football, hands down, that won that fight. So, but yeah, taekwondo and dance. But I quite enjoyed lots of sports at school as well. Just anything that was active, I just enjoyed doing.
What's your dream stadium to play in?
Oh, dream stadium to play in. Also, like a Celtic fan, I can maybe say Parkhead, Celtic Park, which I have played there before. But it was a friendly, so I think there, if it was ever full or had a good number of people in, would be amazing. In terms of other stadiums, potentially, um, I don't know the stadium name, but I've seen it before online and on social media. Is that Benfica women's team where they play their games? Just purely because you can see the fans that they have, the kind of noise it brings, and I think just playing in that atmosphere in that kind of stadium like that would be really cool.
Following on to that, it's like the dream team to sign for.
Oh, dream team. I think dream team to sign for. Oh quite a few to be fair, but I think if I had to pick right now, it would probably be Barcelona. Barcelona for sure.
What's the biggest thing football has taught you?
The biggest thing. I feel like it's like I said, it's such a popular sport that you learn so many things through it. And I think one of the biggest things maybe just the social skills. Like you learn a lot of skills that you can transfer to different parts of life. Like social skills you can take into like jobs or just meeting friends, things like that. But it also teaches you kind of discipline as well with different things. Maybe discipline in terms of um, maybe what you eat or how hard you work or just being like organized and getting to training, make sure you're doing this, doing everything right. So it's difficult to pin down maybe the most important thing, but I think all the skills you can learn from football are really important.
If you could play any position well, what position would you pick and why?
Any position well. Um, I would probably be maybe just pick striker because that's the position I currently play. To play well. But I mean, if I had to pick a position other than that, it would probably be like centre half. Always sometimes in training, if you get mixed up in the teams and I drop into centre half or centre back, then I always just think it's such a breeze. It's so fun. So yeah, probably if it was another position, it'd probably be centre half.
Obviously, following the Women's World Cup and then the Euros, what do you think about the growth of the women's game?
I think it's you can see it's kind of steamrolled since then. I think the only criticism of it is that maybe Scotland as a whole hasn't jumped on the bandwagon as well. So you see women's football, you see tendencies. I'm constantly seeing Arsenal women selling huge amounts of tickets for the Emirates. But it's not just a one-off. Like I think they've already played there 2 or 3 times this season, and they'll play there more. So they really, really jumped on that. Whereas I think in Scotland we haven't done that so well, and I think there's a long, long way to go. So I don't know potentially if it would be interesting at one point if we were maybe to co-host a women's tournament, if that would maybe bring kind of more interest, more exposure. But yeah, I think women's football maybe in England and other parts of Europe is really starting to get more popular.
So you kind of answered kind of the next bit of the question, but it's what more do you think can be done to grow the women's game in Scotland?
So like I said, I think we talk about media a lot, but I think it's such an important part. If you don't see things, you're not going to know what's happening. And I think as well there could be more emphasis maybe on clubs as well. I know I've spoke with like players in terms of things maybe like their club's social media is not the best. And like I said, like if people are not going to come to a game that they don't know about, and they're not going and they might not pique an interest in it if they're not aware of maybe their local team playing a certain game. I think that would be one. I think as well just trying to grow, have more maybe girls football camps, maybe specifically targeting girls in schools as well, especially in primary schools, because I know for myself growing up that it was always just boys teams, but that was probably just because girls at that time didn't really realise that they could play football or play a certain sport. So I think more could be done that way, and probably just more targeting sponsors and things like that to just try and, again, just generate more interest as a whole.
So obviously you moved to Gartcain in the January transfer window on loan. What attracted you to join Gartcain?
So a few things really. I think more so for myself. From a personal point of view, it got to a point where I kind of felt I wanted to play more, and I felt it was in my best interest to maybe go somewhere that I was going to get certain minutes, but also go to an environment that was going to be helpful for me personally. And Gartcain were one of the teams that I reached out, and kind of what drew me to them was kind of just what they were trying to build. I'd seen last season they did really well. They made it to the playoffs, almost got promoted to the SWPL 1, and kind of this year not doing as well. Obviously sitting at the bottom of the table at the moment, but I know a lot of the girls there, and I know there's a lot of good players, but also know there's a lot of good characters there. And obviously, since being there, it's kind of proven me right. Like, it's a really, really good team, really, really good squad. And just everyone's kind of got that same motivation to try, obviously, get higher up the table. And I think, the table doesn't reflect the quality in the team, or the quality of the background staff, or the quality of the coaches that are there as well. So, it's probably one of the biggest parts of me joining up.
How did you find joining Gartcain? Obviously, in January, some players have been there a while, some haven't. So how did you find the whole process of maybe your first session or the first game? How did you feel?
I was actually really nervous, to be fair. I know I said I know a lot of the girls there, but I was still nervous because I've been at Motherwell, obviously since January 2020, so it's quite a long time. So obviously to move mid-season, I think on a loan or a permanent, it's always difficult because there's maybe a settled team, settled squad. But that's where I can just kind of see that the girls have been really, really good with me. Like, they've not made me feel out of place. They've been extremely welcoming. And in my first training session, everyone was kind of chatting, saying, "How are you?" Things like that, just kind of making me feel welcome, and especially the coaches as well, because I think maybe there was this pressure on me because obviously I've been an SWPL1 player my whole career, so maybe going down to a league below, I felt this pressure that, you have to perform, you have to succeed. But the girls made me feel that wasn't the case. They wanted the best out of me, and to get the best out of me is to maybe take, like I said earlier, take that pressure off. And the coaches were the same as well. And first game, we had a mix of obviously players that had been there from the start of the season, and there was maybe 4 or 5 of us that started that game that had only maybe been in a couple of sessions, and also coming in January. But I think maybe apart from the first half, you would never have thought that, because everyone just worked really well together and just kind of looked after each other to make sure that obviously we ended up getting the 3 points in that first game, which was good.
What are your goals for the rest of the season personally and as a team?
Personally is just to get that enjoyment back, play as many minutes as I possibly can, and score as many goals as I possibly can as well. And obviously to help the team, which is the main thing, which is to get out of that relegation zone, which is the same for the team. The team want to try and build something, not only to hopefully get us out of that relegation zone now, but obviously to start building something for next season and beyond as well. So I think the main goal is to just try and climb up that table as fast and quickly as possible.
So looking on to the weekend, you've obviously got a game against Livingston in the Cup, which is another SWPL2 opponent. How far do you think Gartcain will get in the Cup, or what are the plans for this Cup run?
I think it's just kind of taking each game as it comes. Also, the girls are really excited. Unfortunately for myself, I am cup tied, so I won't be able to play this weekend. But I think being in training this week, the girls are just really excited, and I think you only kind of look beyond that once you've dealt with this game. So I think we kind of take each game as it comes, and hopefully we get the result and we get through to the next round. I think the girls probably deserve a cup run, based on how they've been since I've been in. But like you said, it's a cup game. It's a one-off game, regardless of the opponent, whether they're a league higher, a league lower, or in the same league. We're going to treat everyone the same.
So moving on to the next part, it's about squads. So I've got a few questions. So who in the team always turns up to training really early, and who is always late?
Oh, see, I feel like I stitch a few up here. So maybe in terms of, I could probably go twofold here. So I'm going to do Motherwell and Gartcain here, because I still train at Motherwell just now as part of the loan. But a flatmate can probably hear me. She's the goalkeeper at Motherwell at the moment. So I would maybe, if I wasn't here, she's most likely the one that causes us to be late. In terms of early, at Motherwell is always like Chelsea Watson, always early. That girl gets stressed if she's late, especially on game days. She's got bad superstition she needs to hit if she's not there at a certain time. In terms of Gartcain, I've not really seen since I've been there. I don't think anyone's really been late. I think everyone's done quite well. Um, and early. I think everyone again. There's always. I feel like it's not like one single person is always early. It's always everyone seems to hit a certain time where everyone just comes in together. But maybe say Rachel Howe just because she'd been giving me a few lifts last week and we were quite early, quite bang on time.
Who would you pick to be stranded on a desert island with, and who would you not want to be stranded on a desert island with?
Who would I like to be and who would I not like to be? Oh, that's such a good question. Maybe potentially. He's quite clever. Oh, I'll go least likely. Actually, the person I would not like to spend stranded on an island would probably be Katie Rice or Ricey at Motherwell. Yeah, so anyone that watches this will be quite self-explanatory why. I don't think I'd last too long on that island with her. There's probably a few people I'd be quite happy to spend time on a desert island with. Probably most have got Gartcain, to be fair. I think everyone's got good patter. And yeah, probably anyone else that's not racy, to be fair, I'd be happy to spend. I'm quite chill and quite easygoing, so yeah, probably anyone.
Who is the best and who is the worst dressed?
Oh, ouch. Dress. So I've not seen anyone. We've not had any social activities quite yet at Gartcain, so it probably just need to be again from a little point of view. Best dress, I would probably say Maureen Cunningham. I feel like I've always liked her style. She's got a very cool style. And worst dress, I'd probably say, I'm getting in trouble now, I'll say maybe I'll go Chelsea Watson again. Actually, she's probably the worst dressed.
Who's most likely to become president?
President. Oh, smart. Who's the smarties? Who's smart keys? I don't know. Maybe president. Oh, I think maybe I'd go for Raf. So Georgie Rafferty. She's Motherwell as well, but on loan to Kilmarnock at the moment. Just purely based on she tends to get stuck in charge of most kind of things with in terms of being different ambassadors for things, and I think everyone gets on with Raf as well. She looks after everyone, so I know she'd have everyone's best interests at heart.
If you had to swap lives with another player for a day, who would it be and why?
It'd probably be Katie Rice, just to see what that girl gets up to outside of football, because she's crazy. I would just love to just be a day in her head. It would honestly, it would probably be the most draining day ever. But I would just love to see what goes on.
Who's got the best and then who's got the worst music taste?
Oh, see, Motherwell, I was DJ, so I'd probably say me. Worst music taste. See, I don't think anyone's got a bad music taste, but I feel like there's quite a variety. There's a couple in the team, like at Motherwell, Becky Cameron. She likes country music. I'm not a fan of country music, to be honest, so I'd probably have to put that. Let's put her as the worst.
So what would be on your playlist?
See, I like a mix of everything, to be fair. But I feel like I like a bit of R&B, a bit of 2000s music, but then I'm also I like chill music, but then I also got SoundCloud for game day as well. It kind of just depends on my kind of how I'm feeling. But I've got a playlist for every single mood and every single emotion. But I think especially my gym playlist would probably be the winner.
So that's all the questions I've got for you. Thank you so much for joining. It's been a pleasure, and good luck for the rest of the season ahead.
No worries. Thanks for having me on.